Hello there. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. And once more, we are here to try to make the world safe for ADHDers. In the last few shows, I've been talking about getting ready to go back to school. And for many of you, that starts next week. And that's probably where a lot of the concern comes from. I mean, I think ADHDers aren't really designed for the way most schools are run. And I don't, I have school teachers in my background. My mother was a special ed teacher. So I know, frankly, that teachers would run a whole different system if they had the choice. But we've got a lot of government people who think they know more than perhaps they do, and we have gone to this more is better kind of way of looking at school. Okay, your brain is not like a machine that you just run it harder and faster, it does better, or it makes more product, or however you want to think about it. Your brain needs time, some rest time, some time off task to kind of consolidate all the things that are being taught it, if you will. That's why things like recess, physical education, music, those sorts of things, the soft subjects or the soft areas, or the areas that people who are administrators nowadays apparently look at and think, oh, this is waste time, we can get rid of this, and we'll have more time to teach, more time to instruct, more time to make sure that we pass the SOLs and I can keep my job, kind of thing. And basically that's what we've got as a system where people are afraid to give kids some time off. And so if you have any input into how your school is run, I highly recommend you fight for recess. Fighting for recess. How can you ever become more popular with your kids? Fighting for recess, fighting for physical education, fighting for music, art, all those other things. Those tasks balance the brain, okay? Your brain, like I said, is not a machine. It's not that you're gonna ever get more out of it by working it harder. There's always a point at which it's on overload and it doesn't learn as much and it's not as efficient as it would be if you gave it a break. Okay, so 6 hours of school, 4 hours of homework, that's crazy. That's not basing it on the way the brain actually works. And that's the way your school systems should be run. Okay, look at the Norwegians. I'm not Norwegian by ancestry, but Lord, I am impressed with the way they do things. Their education system, I believe it starts next year, but it may have actually started already, I don't know. They're eliminating subjects. So learning is going to be by project. You want to know math? Well, you're going to learn your math while you're trying to figure out how to put a peak roof on a cabin. Kids will learn that stuff. Anybody who's ever watched any do-it-yourself show, but I especially think of This Old House, they've got a carpenter there. Can't remember his name, Tom something or other. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he's from a long line of carpenters, but he uses more math to build a project than anybody I have ever seen use math to do anything. Okay, and that covers a lot of research, people. Okay, Uh, so you see a guy like that, and how comfortable he is, and how he uses it, and you know that he probably picked most of that up on the job, being an apprentice or that sort of thing, than he did while he was in school. And I think that's unfortunate. I think there are a lot of things we teach without teaching why. Why do you need to know this? You know, we don't do anything that piques the interest of students. And son of a gun, we lose people that way. And we lose a lot of students, and we lose a lot of ADHDers. Remember, we've talked before about ADHD not being a problem with attention, but being the fact that the attention system is interest-based. So if you're interested in it, great things happen. If you're not interested in it, it's hard to get you to do it. So when you're thinking about going back to school and you're getting your kids ready and you've done all that, think about the school system and what they are putting up with. And maybe considering running for the school board. Although I'm not so sure that would be a wonderful experience, but we need to do something to get the school system a little more in line with what we know about the way the brain works and how people learn. By the way, I'm a neuropsychologist. If I didn't say that at the beginning, those of you who've been watching regularly probably know that. I work with brains all day long. You know, I work with ADHD, I work with learning disabilities, I work with people who've had concussions, closed head injuries of all kinds, multiple sclerosis, dementia, pretty much you name it. But I get a lot of experience in knowing how the brain works best and how the brain learns best and that sort of thing. So just take that for what it's worth, but look at the way your school kids are having to work and understand that, like, the research on the value of homework, not particularly overwhelming, okay? There's certainly nothing in it that would suggest your child should be doing 3 hours of homework every night. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, I guess, I don't know really why homework loads have increased so much, but I've had first grade students who've had a couple of 3 hours of homework a night. I thought that was a big deal when I started going to middle school, because we were finally going to get homework like the big kids. But in elementary school? Oh, no way. Never happened. You know, the biggest thing I remember was having to study the spelling list. But that was it. And that was totally elective. I didn't have to do it if I didn't want to. If I put up with whatever grade I got. So this time of year is a good time to start thinking about how your school system is functioning and what changes you'd like to see. And it's also a good time to think about, how much did you have to change your routine after summer to get your child ready for school? Okay, now, for a lot of people, it wasn't that big a change. You know, you still maintain some sort of routine and schedule and that sort of thing, at least Monday through Friday. Okay, so cool. I mean, for others of you, it was a huge change, and it's because it was such a huge change, you're unlikely to have an easy time getting ready to go back to school. School will be tough, okay, if you just let them run around all hours of the day and night because they had no particular requirements to go to school or anything. You're going to have troubles. So my short and quick thing is, next year, summer vacation, make sure you still have a routine. Obviously, it doesn't have to be quite as inflexible as the one when the school year is going on, but you still need a routine. You don't want to get them so out of whack, especially with their sleep schedule, that they can't get back on track very easily. Okay? Your body likes routine. Your brain likes routine. And it doesn't like changing the routine. Nothing about any of us, but certainly the kiddos that have ADHD, it's going to be tougher because they need a routine. They need knowing what to expect, and they do really poorly if they don't know what to expect. So if you keep changing their routine around, you're going to have troubles. You just are. They're going to get cranky and out of sorts and more volatile, if you will, and you're going to have a lot of trouble, and it's totally unnecessary. Try to keep your schedule more or less the same, little baby adjustments, little baby modifications, but don't totally, give up on any kind of a routine. It isn't going to work for your family, and it isn't going to work for you, and it's certainly not going to work for your kids. Okay, and that may include, I'm probably, well, I don't know if I'm in a minority or not, but here's what I know. If you think of ADHD as being on a continuum, that is, you can have a little bit of it or you can have a whole bunch of it, okay? If you have a whole bunch of it, you don't really have much of a choice but to try medication at least, okay? And medication, I'm not sure, well, it seems to me that there's more resistance to this than perhaps there should be. I'm all the time seeing folks who were diagnosed when they were in elementary school and were on medication, and then when they got into high school they said, no more, I'm not taking this anymore because I don't want to be different from the other kids. And then they just barely bebopped through high school, and now they've been working menial jobs for 7 or 8 years, and they're trying to improve their lives, and they start to realize, I really need some help, and medication was the thing that helped me. So I see them when they're in their mid-20s, and I'm trying to go to nursing school, or I'm trying to get a bachelor's degree or something like that, and I need to be back on medication, so I need a new evaluation. Okay, that's what I see all the time. You decide what that means, but understand that it helps. It helps your brain. We have all kinds of studies, and just an incredible amount, showing that the medication works to help improve the ability to organize, stay focused with ADHDers. Okay, there's not any real controversy about that. Okay. The controversy is that there are thousands of things that make it worse for ADHD. Like blood sugar being out of control, or not having a regular routine, or not getting enough sleep. But those aren't causative. Those don't cause ADHD. They just make the symptoms worse. So medication works. Okay? It works for 85 to 90% of all the people diagnosed with ADHD. And believe you me, there are probably more than 10% that are misdiagnosed. Okay? So make sure you get a good diagnosis. Make sure you know what you've got. Make sure whoever's doing the diagnosis is a little bit on the conservative side, because you don't want to be throwing in a bunch of kids who don't really need it. I mean, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for folks who actually have the problem. And when we have that, the medication is a slam dunk. It just works. If you're using stimulants, it works within 20 or 30 minutes. So I don't know. I read all these things, and the side effect profile is really very good. So I'm always amazed at these people who, come up with all these side effects. And I think a lot of it is, just that the observations are not very objective. That you need to have a comparison to what it was like before. Look at your and nobody fills out an observation sheet. I'm sorry. I have several observation sheets in my office that I routinely give out. People don't fill them out. But if you did, you'd be a lot better at determining what the effects of the medication are. So, don't want to go on forever and ever about that, but if the medication is what helps your child in the school year, you ought to consider using it year-round. I mean, it's not like anything gets tired out and they need a drug vacation, particularly. As a matter of fact, we know that when they are on medication, their brain adjusts to it by actually performing better, even when they're off it. But you really need to consider keeping them on medication throughout the summer as well. Okay, that way you don't have something else to worry about when you start the school year. Plus, you get the benefits of improved behavior when they're on it. And all this stuff about kids being zombies and all that junk, that just means your dosage is not right. Okay? Too much stimulant will make a kid appear to be a quote zombie. Okay? You get the right dosage, shouldn't be an issue. Okay? And understand that not every physician is a real sharp treater of ADHD. Okay? And unfortunately, in the way the world is running right now, we don't have enough specialists to actually treat ADHD. You got to work pretty hard to find somebody who's really used it a lot, used to ADHD and is used to treating ADHD and has a lot of experience and perhaps even some specialized training. Okay, that's important. And don't just assume that your friendly neighborhood, really nice guy, family practice doc knows a whole lot about ADHD. But ask him directly. Are you comfortable doing this stuff? Do you like working with ADHD kids? If he indicates some problems with that, tell you what, that would be the thing I'd be more worried about than whether or not your child is on medication. Okay, and the guy prescribing it or the woman prescribing it is not comfortable with doing it. That to me is like, whoa, wait a minute. Do we want to do this? Okay, so part of the way, part of what we're even talking about this for is you're going back to school next week, probably, most of you. Your child, hopefully, if you've been kind of doing what you're supposed to be doing in the last few weeks before starting school, bedtime routine is back on where it needs to be to get you out the door for school. The family meetings and evening dinner is back on track and doing the way you like it to be doing. They're back on their medication, and any changes that have happened because of growth spurts over the summer or that sort of stuff have been dealt with. They know where they're going to school. They know who the teacher's going to be. You've coordinated with the school system, and preferably at the end of last year, you made sure that you've got one of the teachers that's good with ADHDers. And past that, you're ready to, well, you've looked at what apps are available that might be helpful, and you've looked at their 504 and decided if they need to add stuff or take some stuff out, that kind of thing. So you've done what you can do now. And then for next year, you make sure the school system knows what you think of the way they're running the school system. And start asking for proof. Well, what is the proof that taking away recess results in better performance? What is the proof that taking away art, music, PE improves academic performance? What is the proof that more is better? Because there isn't any. Okay? So, that's me. That's it. I went a little longer than I thought I would. Okay, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. This is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, and we are trying to make the world safe for ADHD, because ADHDers are the kind of outside-the-box thinkers, creative thinkers that can save the world, or at least change the world. And who knows, maybe your ADHDer is the one who's going to change the world. Because normal people don't change the world. That's one of my favorite quotes. Okay, so we will catch you next time. I'm at Dr. T's ADHD. I'm sorry. My website is terrygingrassphd.com. And I'm also obviously on Facebook pretty regularly. So let me know if you have any questions, concerns, things you'd like me to cover, things you have questions about. Okay? Then probably you can do it right down here somewhere. Okay, catch you next week. Bye.